Your monitor glows at 11:47 p.m. The port is quiet outside. You are 3 screens deep into a cargo manifest flagged by the automated targeting system, and something is wrong with the numbers. You are 31 years old. You work for U.S. Customs and Border Protection out of the Port of Baltimore, a mid-level data analyst on the trade enforcement side. You are not a field agent. You do not carry a weapon. You sit in a climate-controlled office that smells like burnt coffee and dry erase markers, and you look at numbers all day: container weights, declared values, transit routes, shipper codes. You are very good at seeing patterns that other people miss. Tonight you are seeing one you wish you hadn't. The TEU container originated in Puerto Cortes, Honduras. Standard routing, garment trade. The declared weight is 18,400 kilograms. The shipper is a textile manufacturer out of San Pedro Sula you've seen before. Clean record. But the routing is off. It stopped in San Salvador for 38 hours. An unscheduled transshipment. The container continued north on a vessel called the Estrella del Pacifico. The container's seal number doesn't match the original loading manifest from Puerto Cortes. It matches a seal format you've seen 3 times in the last 4 months. Each time, the cargo later triggered a CBP physical inspection and came back with anomalies that never made it into the public enforcement record. You pull up your notes, kept outside the official system, in a password-protected spreadsheet on your personal laptop. Your supervisor told you once that pattern recognition is your greatest asset. He said it like a compliment. Right now, it feels like a curse. You stare at the screen. The numbers don't lie. You know what this means. You enter the container into the risk assessment algorithm under your analyst credentials. You adjust the weighting on the transshipment variable. The risk score climbs from 34 to 71. Anything above 65 triggers a secondary review flag. The flag routes automatically to the port's enforcement team and, depending on the score, to HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. You move the cursor over the submit button. You leave it there for 11 seconds. Then you click. 3 weeks pass. You hear nothing. You assume the flag disappeared into the bureaucratic ocean like most of your flags do. Reviewed, noted, deprioritized, filed. You go back to your regular queue. You clear 400 manifests in a week. You drink bad coffee, you take the train home. The routine swallows everything. The flag feels distant now, like something that happened to a slightly different version of you. Then your personal cell phone rings on a Tuesday at 6:14 in the morning. You are still in bed. The number has a country code you recognize: El Salvador. +503. Your stomach drops before your mind catches up. You do not answer. The call ends. No voicemail. You lie there for a while with the phone on your chest, staring at the ceiling, listening to your own breathing. The silence feels loud. You Google the number, nothing. You call your office's duty line and report it as a potential contact attempt. The duty officer sounds half awake. He tells you to document it and come in and fill out an incident report. He says it's probably a misdial. He says this in the tone of a man who has said reassuring things he doesn't believe many times before. You write down every detail anyway. You know what you saw. You know what you flagged. The incident report goes into a system. A week later, you get a call from an HSI agent named Reyes. She has a flat, careful voice. She tells you the container you flagged in Baltimore was part of a broader cargo monitoring operation she cannot fully describe. She tells you your flag was useful. She tells you there may have been a data breach in an internal routing system that exposed analyst action logs, including flagging activity, to parties outside CBP. She pauses before continuing. She says your name may have been associated with specific enforcement flags in documents that were not supposed to leave the network. She asks if you have family in the area. The question lands like a weight dropped from a great height. You do. Your mother lives in Dundalk, 12 minutes from the port. Your sister has 2 kids and an address that is very easy to find. You sit with that information in a way you have never sat with anything before. That night you sit at your kitchen table and you look at your laptop and you think about the algorithm. You built a significant portion of its weighting structure yourself, over 3 years of iterative adjustments. You know exactly which variables to suppress to lower a risk score. You know how to make a 71 look like a 29 without leaving a trace that a casual audit would catch. You sit there for a long time. You think about what kind of person you are. You tell yourself you are just thinking. That thinking isn't doing. You close the laptop. You go to bed. You don't sleep. The second call comes 9 days later. Same country code. This time you answer. The voice is calm, accented but precise. The man doesn't introduce himself. Your hands tighten around the phone. He reads your mother's address back to you. Street name, house number. He describes the color of the front door, which is burgundy, because she repainted it last spring and you helped her do it on a Saturday afternoon. She complained that you were getting more paint on yourself than on the wood. He says one sentence after that. He says he hopes your work has been going well. Then he hangs up. The line goes dead. Your hands are completely steady. That surprises you. You thought they would shake. Instead, your hands are still and your mind is very clear, and you understand that you are now inside something that has walls on every side. You call Reyes. You tell her about the call. She's at your apartment within 2 hours with another agent, a man named Castillo, who says almost nothing and writes everything down. They sweep your phone. They sweep your laptop. They tell you that the operation you inadvertently touched the edge of involves a logistics network with documented ties to MS-13's East Coast structure. A network moving not garments but product. The kind that gets weighed in kilograms and priced in arrangements that no legitimate textile company would recognize. They tell you that your flag was one of 4 data points that confirmed a transit node they'd been trying to locate for 11 months. They talk about federal witness protocols, about relocation options, about things that feel very far away from your coffee-smelling office and your 3 screens and your annotated spreadsheets. You ask about your mother. There is a pause. Reyes says they will coordinate with local law enforcement on increased monitoring of her address. She says this carefully. The word coordinate lands in the room like a stone dropped in still water. The ripples tell you everything the careful voice is trying not to say. You understand what coordination means. You understand what monitoring means. You understand that careful language is what people use when the truth is too heavy to hand directly to someone. You say yes. You tell them you'll keep working. For 6 weeks, you do exactly that. You go to the office. You run the manifests. You adjust the risk weighting. You flag what the algorithm tells you to flag. You eat lunch alone. You call your mother every other evening and you talk about nothing. Her garden, her neighbor's dog, a show she's been watching. You don't tell her anything. You don't know how you would begin. There is a date in October, a Sunday, when you drive to her house for dinner. You sit at her kitchen table and eat the same meal she has made since you were 9 years old. Outside the window, the leaves are turning. The neighborhood looks exactly like every Sunday of your entire childhood. She talks. You listen. You think about container seal formats. You think about a man with a calm voice and a correct description of a burgundy door. You think about how the distance between this kitchen and that phone call is not geographic. It is permanent. You crossed it and you cannot cross back. The meal tastes the same. Everything else has changed. The operation culminates in March. 14 arrests across 3 states. A coordinated Port Authority action at Baltimore, Newark, and Houston. Customs seizure of 11 containers, 6 of which are connected to the transit node your flag helped locate. Reyes calls you to say thank you. She sounds tired. She says your contribution will be noted in the case documentation in a way that protects your identifying information. She says that doesn't mean there's no risk, only that they've done what they can to manage it. You ask if it's over. She pauses for exactly 1 second longer than you'd like. She says the enforcement action is over. She says organizations like this one don't experience one enforcement action as a conclusion. They experience it as a data point. They adjust. They find new transit nodes. They make new calls. You sit with that for a while. The silence after she hangs up is different from other silences. It has texture. It has weight. It fills the room like something physical. The story is fiction, but MS-13's cargo layer logistics networks, exploiting port transshipment gaps, compromised manifest data, and algorithmic blind spots, are documented in federal case records and DEA threat assessments going back more than a decade. The vulnerability at the data analyst level, the person who sees the pattern before anyone else does, is real and almost never discussed. It exists in the gap between what the system flags and what the system protects. Somewhere right now, a mid-level analyst at a port you've flown out of is sitting in a fluorescent-lit office that smells like bad coffee, looking at a number that doesn't match. They are doing the math on what it means to flag it. They are doing a different kind of math on what it means not to flag it. Two calculations running simultaneously. One is about career risk. One is about something much larger that they haven't fully named yet. They think the decision is about a career. They haven't understood yet that it's about everything else. The career calculation is the visible surface. Underneath it is something that doesn't have a clean professional name. They're wrong in the exact same way you were wrong, at the exact same moment, before the phone rang and the world became a much smaller room. The math looks manageable until it isn't. The port hums outside, the screens glow, the coffee goes cold, the algorithm waits. Somewhere in a container on a vessel you will never see, something moves through the dark water toward a shore that doesn't know it's coming. And in a fluorescent-lit office, someone stares at a number. They move the cursor. They leave it there. They are 11 seconds away from the rest of their life. The cursor blinks. The port is quiet. Everything is about to change. The algorithm doesn't care who you are. It doesn't know your mother's name. It doesn't know the color of her front door. It processes variables. It assigns weights. It outputs a number. What you do with that number, that part is entirely yours. Every port in this country runs on data. Millions of containers, thousands of manifests, hundreds of analysts sitting in fluorescent offices making judgment calls that never make the evening news and almost never get reviewed by anyone who understands what they cost. The system is designed to catch what it was designed to catch. It was not designed to catch everything. The gaps are not accidents. They are the natural consequence of building a filter in a world that moves faster than the people who build filters. Transnational criminal organizations know this. They study port data the way analysts study manifests. They run their own pattern recognition. They know which variables get weighted. They know which routes attract scrutiny. They know when to move and when to wait. The exploit is not just the shipping route. The exploit is the analyst, the person sitting between the algorithm and the enforcement action. The person who has to decide in real time whether what they are seeing is worth what it will cost them to say so. There are hundreds of these people, mid-level, underpaid relative to what they see, working in agencies that have formal processes for everything except protecting the person who finds the thing the process was built to find. They are not heroes in the dramatic sense. They do not have backup. They do not have handlers. They have a GS pay grade, a government laptop, a clearance that doesn't come with armor, and a number on a screen that doesn't match. Some of them flag it, some of them don't. The ones who do flag it enter a system that was not built with them in mind. The flag travels upward. The analyst stays in place, still sitting, still visible, still in the same chair. The phone call, when it comes, does not come to the agency. It comes to the person. It comes to the cell number on the emergency contact form filed 3 years ago when they first got the job. It comes at 6:14 in the morning. It comes with a calm voice and a correct address and the specific, surgical knowledge that someone, somewhere, has been watching closely enough to know things that only someone inside would know. And the analyst sits there, holding the phone, doing the math. The math is not complicated. It is just unbearable. There is a difference. Complicated math has variables you don't understand. Unbearable math has variables you understand perfectly and wish you didn't. You understand the weight of a burgundy door. You understand the weight of a sister's address. You understand the weight of 2 children who don't know their uncle works in a building where the coffee is bad, and the numbers sometimes don't match. You understand that the algorithm will keep running whether you cooperate with it or against it. The machine does not have a conscience. The machine does not lie awake. The machine does not answer calls at 6:14 in the morning. You are the conscience. You are the part that lies awake. You are the part that answered. And now you are sitting in a kitchen that smells like your childhood and eating a meal that tastes like safety and thinking about container seal formats. This is what it costs, not the drama of it, not the federal witness protocols and the HSI agents in your living room. The cost is this: a Sunday dinner that will never fully taste like Sunday dinner again. That's the number that doesn't appear in any report. There are people who know this cost and chose to pay it anyway, not because they are exceptional, not because they were built differently, because on the night in question, at the monitor that glowed, they could not find a way to unknow what they knew. The system will not save you. The system will use your flag and protect your identifying information to the extent possible and coordinate with local law enforcement and call you when the operation concludes. That is the full extent of what the system will do. What the system will not do is sit with you in the kitchen on the Sunday in October. What it will not do is give you back the version of that dinner that existed before you clicked submit. What it will not do is make the math stop. So you do what the people before you did and what the people after you will do. You go to the office. You drink the bad coffee. You look at the numbers. You see the pattern. You move the cursor. You leave it there. You do the math. And then, because you are the kind of person you are, because on the night in question you could not find a way to unknow what you knew, you click. The port is quiet. The algorithm updates. Somewhere, something shifts. The work continues. The port never sleeps. Containers move in the dark whether anyone is watching or not. The vessels do not wait for morning. The manifests do not pause for the person reading them to decide what kind of person they are going to be. There are ports in this country processing more than 20 million TEU containers every year. 20 million declarations. 20 million declared weights. 20 million routing histories passing through systems built by people who knew they couldn't catch everything and built them anyway. The gap between what is declared and what is real is not a failure of the system. It is a feature of the world. The system catches what it can. The world moves faster. This has always been true. It will continue to be true. The people who close that gap are not algorithms. They are not enforcement actions. They are not press releases about coordinated multi-agency operations. They are mid-level analysts with bad coffee and good pattern recognition and a number on a screen that doesn't match. They are the last human variable in a system that would prefer to run without human variables. Human variables are unpredictable. Human variables lie awake. Human variables answer phones at 6:14 in the morning and then have to decide what to do next. The system would be cleaner without them. It would also be blind. The anomaly that no algorithm catches, the seal format that appears 3 times in 4 months, the 38-hour stop that isn't on any schedule, that gets caught by a person. Every time. Not always acted on, not always protected, not always thanked, but caught. The catching is human. The cost is human. The continuity, the fact that there will be someone in that chair tomorrow and the day after, that is also human. What keeps them in the chair is not the pay grade. It is not the clearance. It is not the formal processes that exist for everything except protecting them. It is something quieter, something that doesn't have a clean name in any agency manual. It is the simple, stubborn refusal to look at a number that doesn't match and pretend that it does. It is the thing that happens in the 11 seconds before the click. It is the reason the cursor moves. It is not heroism. It is just honesty. The monitor glows. The port is quiet. The number doesn't match. The cursor moves. The work continues. It has always continued. It will continue after this. In a fluorescent lit office somewhere, someone is doing the math. They are 11 seconds away. They will click.